Hello wonderful people, and welcome to a guide or spotlight on one of the many tsunderes that Crossing Void has to offer. Taiga. Taiga is a high damaging glass cannon with a focus on front units that also buffs herself to be more of a self-sufficient DPS character. As a DPS unit, stat-wise, she's somewhat lackluster compared to the other options. She has the lowest attack growth out of all the high attack stat DPS units, at 8th highest in the game, with well below average speed, at 426, but not being as glass as the others, boasting the highest defensive stats out of all of them. Something weird that should be noted is that while her kit seems to synergize very well, it's actually pretty muddled in the best playstyle to use her with, and general turn rotation that works best with her. Her first ability, Sled Attack, deals equal physical damage to the front and middle enemy. It also gives you a buff called the Excited buff, which gives your second skill and climax skill a 20% damage buff until it goes away. It also cannot be removed. It'll go away once you use either skill, but it lasts 2 turns, and with her exclusive talent, will come back after defeating an enemy. Although it seems like this ability is strong and should completely be played around, I'm not too sure since it deals far less damage than the second skill, so much so that I would still use this move as a first turn only skill unless you're trying to save skill points. Her second skill, Don't You Dare Ignore Me, deals physical damage to all enemies. Although this is an AoE skill, just note that the back enemy takes very little damage during this, and the front enemy takes the most damage. Because this skill is so much stronger than her first, I think it might be better to spam this skill instead. Her final skill, Irritating, deals high physical damage to the enemy. It's a very fun climax skill to watch. It has a crit string, where if the first attack crits, all of it crits, and has 2 very high damage end attacks that deal a lot of damage, especially if they can crit. Taiga's exclusive talent is Palm Top Tiger, which allows her to deal more damage while taking more damage. Also, when an enemy is defeated, Taiga will gain the Excited buff. Because you only have to defeat an enemy now to gain Excited buff, knowing how to use her is much more manageable as time goes on. Using your second skill for more damage, while also gaining the Excited buff after you defeat an enemy, is probably more manageable and a higher damaging playstyle than using your first skill every other turn. It also makes your single target climax much stronger in use, because it is almost guaranteed a kill. Just note that since it makes you take more damage, it also makes Taiga's defenses a lot worse and probably one of the lowest out of all of the DPS units in the game because of this. Talent-wise, as a full damaging unit, I think that gaining access to all percent attack and damaging talents is the strongest way to play Taiga. Therefore, I would run percent attack, Palm Top Tiger, crit rate, and crit damage. I would recommend running defensive talents early on until you have enough critical support if you feel you need to. Equipment-wise, the choice is yours. Generally, I would recommend rocking Poser Set as it boosts your first and second skill. However, with her 5th awakening, maybe you want to switch to a more cross-skill focused team, where all of her crosses cost 4 or more, so running double alternative fashion could work. However, I think Poser Set in general is a stronger set, since Taiga is more focused around her S2. On to her awakenings. Her first awakening allows her second skill, Don't You Dare Ignore Me, to heal her while she has the Excited buff. Her second awakening increases her base attack. Her third awakening gives you her Awakening 3 art and makes her second skill deal more damage. Her fourth awakening gives her a special hue and increases both her defense and arcane defense by 5%. Her final awakening gives you access to her special icon and adds an additional effect to her exclusive talent. With her final awakening, you may now cast cross skills and it will refresh the duration of the Excited buff. With this, we can surmise her first awakening to be decent but not amazing. It makes your general turn rotation heal on turn 2, and heal yourself after every opponent's death. It's more so icing on the cake rather than an amazing effect. Her 5th talent would be best used if you somehow use your sub skill, and would rather cast a cross skill than use your Excited buff. I guess this makes her crosses better, or makes the case for using a more utility based sub unit that also crosses with her. While we're on the topic, let's talk about her cross skills. Her first cross skill, with Ryuji from the same anime, Toradora, is Dragon and Tiger, a 6th cost skill which deals physical damage to all enemies. Again, with an emphasis on the front enemy, as she deals one final blow to them after being held off from her rage. Her second cross, with Mashiro, girls who cannot take care of themselves, is a 5-cost skill that deals physical damage to all enemies. Just note, Aereo makes a special appearance. Her third and final cross skill, with Kuroneko, is called Mean Girl, a 4-cost skill that deals physical damage to all enemies. Although her crosses are pretty good, I can't fully make a case of which characters are best with Taiga. I think her best choices would be either her crosses that provide massive team utility and decently damaging crosses, while also making her defenses a lot stronger so that the Palm Tiger debuff matters less, or a high damaging cross such as Len or Kuroyukihime. It should also be noted that I think turn 1 you should almost always use her S1 for 2 reasons. 1, it'll buff your next burst by a good chunk, and 2, it'll save you skill points for your other characters, at least for that turn, or it can be carried over to the later turns. Alright, with that, let's get into a segment that, although used in previous videos, is not as in-depth as this time, theory crafting at least 1 or 2 decent teams. I'll be going over a lot, but me just talking about my reasoning should give you more incentive to either build a good team, or would allow you to go through my thought process on some good teammates. Let me know if you guys like this longer section more, or the shorter just mentioning general teammates. So the first team comp I'm going to be talking about is the double DPS team comp. We're going to stick with Taiga, as she is the focus of the video. The first thing that should be mentioned is the rotation that we think is going to happen when we start. Let's assume that turn 1, we will try to guarantee that we will use our first skill on Taiga, allowing us to use extra skill points in this turn or later ones. Let's see what we do when running with Len, the fastest of all the high attack growth subunits. I think a really good DPS to run with Taiga is going to be Mikoto. Mikoto will generally use her bleed skill into whatever skill, and reset into a bleed, which gives us a 3 and a question mark skill so far. We generally want Mikoto to have enough skill points to use turn 1, while also being able to use her bleed skill. I actually think we might want to run Toma, as with Toma and Taiga, it'll make our team very heavily front focused, and stop buffs from not allowing us to defeat the front enemy. Their cross skill is also cheap at 4, and nukes the front enemy as well. Kuroko with her other units are still very viable depending on what you want to do, but for the sake of, let's follow this thought pattern. Now that Mikoto is much slower and can essentially guarantee herself being able to bleed turn 1 with Toma, we can look into our next unit. We want someone who can use a decent amount of skill points, and give us some extra skill point usage as we see fit. We also probably want to be able to heal these guys, as they're not the tankiest. I think that having Kirino would be an excellent choice. Point-wise, costing 3 at most is a huge boon for us, as you'll have extra skill points saved up from turn 1 that you can proc turn 2 in order to heal. Her supports can work in 2 different ways, as you can use either Kuroneko to bolster more healing and dispel, or run other units that fill other roles. Ryuji or Uehara in order to remove debuffs Kirino can't heal, Mashiro for more skill point gain, etc, etc. Synergy-wise, this team is very strong, as we have high damage, a frail debuff, dispel, and a lot that works well with Taiga. The damage that Mikoto does synergizes extremely well, as with her exclusive talent, she can frail units that Taiga wants to attempt to kill. With a heavy front focus, getting kills often enough is going to be the key to success, so ordering your turns and watching your opponent's front units will be what you will need to do in order to win battles with a composition like this. I just want to note, these team compositions are definitely not the best thing you could run. However, as an example team composition, I think that going through the thought process and mindset we should go through as we talk about team building is what this example team composition brings very well to the table. Leave a comment down below if you have other examples. Maybe I'll make a team building guide in the future. Anyways, that brings us to the end of the Taiga guide. I hope you guys enjoyed, and stay watching for the last update or 2. I'm glad you guys are here. I wanted to try something new when it came to team building, and it was a pretty fun thing to do. Even though I didn't build the best team composition in my mind, I thought that it really highlighted some nice thought process when it came to team building. Anyways, I'm going to be streaming live today when this video is up. Right now, which is 12 PM EST to sometime around 7 PM EST hopefully. It's going to be a longer stream so that people can join as they come. Hopefully you guys Also join, come say hi, support me, or ask any questions you might have. I'll also hopefully be playing a new mobile game on stream, so let's see if we can complete enough in order to start on that. Otherwise, have a fantastic day, and I'll see you guys on Monday in YouTube land.